on, and they're about, the paperback is, I think, $11 with tax. So I can order it for you, or you can get it yourself. Okay, any thoughts on the sermon this morning? Something that hadn't happened in your mind before? Any thoughts? Ananias. I like that name.
I liked how what he said was something along, well, two things, that God doesn't God changes enemies into advocates. I love that idea, enemies into advocates. And of course, with my ears always perk up when I hear, and how do we know it's God's voice? And I'm going, oh, he's going to say it. He said, well, we have to practice listening and have an opportunity to sit and trust with someone discerning. It's like, yeah, Tim, I'm going to quote you on that. So,
Yeah.
I love both those things.
Could you hear Jill? Yeah. Good. Yes, and those were really important points. You got to listen if you want to hear him. Whereas Saul didn't, though.
No.
Saul didn't, he got struck down. So is that what we expect, God to strike us down, or can we just listen? Yeah.
Julie, there are times that, I'm big on meditating, and I like what you said. How do we know it's God? Well, there have been times I've said to God, you know what, just hit me over the head with a 2x4, because I do not know what you're saying or what I need to hear. So, I just, listening, I think that, that's what I do when I meditate, I listen.
Listen.
I just love that too.
Yeah. And then the discernment, the discernment. So, Dallas, if you're not sure, maybe run it by Jill or Pastor Debbie, or not me, but somebody else to help you discern if it's right or wrong.
Well, and the key, the trust and safety are huge. He said, someone you trust. If we can establish safety and trust, it's like, okay, we all agree. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So when you all have an opportunity to sign up for the workshop things on discernment, I'm just putting in a plug.
And she does an excellent job of working us through discernment. So I would really encourage you to do that. Okay, this morning we're going to focus on Sam. Well, I know Sam's our grandson, and I'm not here to brag. That's not what this morning's about. It's about beating the odds, about perseverance. It's about community. And so this morning, I don't know why I decided I'm going to wear this top. Well, when I was getting ready, I thought, Julie, you bought this top 10 years ago when Sam was being adopted by Notre Dame. So either I'm becoming a good brethren and I'm wearing my clothes out, or I didn't know quite how to interpret. But this is 10 years old, and it marks the beginning of Sam's journey with Notre Dame. In the first YouTube, my claim to fame is the hands. So let me know if you see my hands in the first one. And it's about 4 minutes long. And this is it's really the beginning. And he's at the University of Michigan, and they wrote an article about him, and the title of the article was Remarkably Unremarkable. That's how they termed Sam, remarkably unremarkable. So let's start his journey. Thanks, William. Do we need that curtain pulled this year? You don't know yet. That's the second one.
Jump men's T63, and this is huge. He needed a clearance to go into the lead. He gets the...
It should be Notre Dame. Yes, please.
He never made a tackle or threw a block
What's up? You good? Feeling good? Good to see you.
or caught a pass. He was never listed on the roster. But Sam Grew was as much a part of Notre Dame's magical season as any player who wore a uniform.
We all made a promise to him that he would be our brother, and I believe, at least for me, it goes beyond football. It goes beyond this season. It's not a this year thing. It's not a next year thing. It's not a while I'm in college thing. It's a forever thing.
Growing up in Middlebury, Indiana, Sam Grew made all the plays on all his teams as often as he could.
His seventh grade football team, he led his team in rushing and receiving yards and touchdowns, and he did the kicking and the punting and all that, so it's a big part of his life.
After his seventh grade football season, Sam began to feel pain in his right leg. Christmas week 2011, a doctor gave his family the news: cancer.
A lot of questions, am I gonna die? How sick am I going to be? Am I still gonna be able to play sports?
Is it deadly? Is it gonna paralyze me? I don't know what the side effects would be.
Sam was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, an aggressive malignant bone cancer. This spring, while preparing to undergo surgery to amputate part of his right leg, the Notre Dame football team adopted Sam as part of the Fighting Irish football team this season.
He was going to have to lose his leg. And our players knew of him through a video that I showed of him playing football and his love for playing sports.
He showed Sam's highlights of him playing football, playing receiver. It was unbelievable seeing him out there running around, and to see all that gone is, it hurts your heart.
They all had on Grew Crew t-shirts. They all had on Grew Crew wristbands. Every single one of them was standing up, giving my son a standing ovation.
2 days later, Sam underwent rotation-plasty surgery. His right knee and part of his leg were removed, with the remaining portion below the knee rotated and reattached. Essentially, his ankle became his knee, his foot became his shin, to fit inside a prosthetic leg.
Say waving hi to everybody.
A choice Sam made to keep his athletic dreams intact. In addition to the amputation, Sam has spent 150 nights in the hospital this year and has already faced 19 sessions of chemotherapy. Yet whenever he could this season, he spent time with his team, and he never missed a home game.
We're talking about one game he went to, backpack with 10 pounds of IV fluid on. He had to be on IV because he had just had chemo, it was still in his system, and he's out there on the field with the guys during the warm-ups.
When he's with us, he's just, he's one of the guys. He's hanging out, coming up the training table, and so it's tremendous perspective. And I couldn't have asked for, a better role model than Sam is.
They always described it as brothers, but I never really saw it that way. I saw them more as friends because you don't always get along with your brothers. But
After Notre Dame's final home game this season, Sam was taken into the locker room. In that hallowed place, there's a tradition, typically reserved for team captains and Irish legends, leading the team in the Irish fight song. On this day, a boy who never made a play for the Irish was given that honor.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Notre Dame went undefeated, but through that left Sam victorious because he could be a part of it. They gave him a reason to to keep going.
How would you like a brotherhood of that? Wasn't that amazing? And he's still friends. He still is in contact with two, especially players of that team. And we have a picture a couple years later. He's at Notre Dame game, and the infamous Manti Te'o is standing there having Sam autograph something for him. And it was quite the fun. But you know, he was Notre Dame's golden boy that year. And the encouragement that he got from that team led him, it drove him. They came to the hospital, they visited with him. He did the walkover from the clubhouse to the stadium. He walked over with the team. He was there. He was part of Notre Dame. And so maybe you're not a Notre Dame fan, but what Notre Dame did for Sam is just unbelievable, and we're forever grateful. And that Brian Kelly and his wife, who is a great cancer advocate, having gone through cancers so many times, were really, really instrumental in Sam moving forward. Anybody see my hands in the video? How can you deny these? You know, it's like, go Sam! and that was part of, that was a loss for us, because that's what we did. We went to Sam's games. Now what? Now what? What do? We go to the hospital, and we take him chocolate-covered donuts, because that's what he asked for that morning. And he wasn't eating, but if he asked for chocolate-covered donuts, we bought a dozen and got him there. I don't think he ate any. The nurses thought they were great, but, you know, so that's what we did. He was in the hospital 13 months. It'll go on to explain, but he was 7th grade, and he missed his 7th and 8th grade school, those 2 years. So he went from basically 6th grade to being a freshman. All right, so now that Sam is 13 there. Now Sam is 23, and he's going to the Olympics. Now Sam has gone, I wrote places down that he has been to. He has been to Rio for Olympics, where he got a silver. And then there's things they call the world competitions. So he's been like to Toronto, he's been to London, he's been to Qatar, Doha and Qatar. He's been to Dubai. Oh my goodness, he said the facilities in Dubai were unbelievable. Just at top notch, top of the chain, everything. It was quite the experience. And of course, then last fall he went to Tokyo and pulled off a gold. But what I want you to notice in this little video is the rain. Okay, William?
Clearance at 1 meter 88. Sam Grew. He wins gold. India's Mariappan Thangavelu, the reigning Paralympic champion, had already missed. Grew is down to his final crack. It would have been silver with a miss, gold with a make, and he gets it here, and here's how his family reacted. So what can Sam Grew do? Started medical school less than 2 months ago, and now he has Paralympic gold to follow up 2 world championships.
Well, it was one heck of a high jump competition, and for Sam Grewe, it was the final jump. Take us back to that moment.
You know, I knew I had it in me. I've jumped that height so many times, and I don't know what it was. Today, things just weren't clicking. And when it came to that third jump, where I knew that's what it would take to win gold medal, you know, I started asking, why not me? Why not me right now? I knew what I came in to do, and I knew what the goal was, and it was gold. It was a gold medal. And so, you know, I knew what it took. I visualized it, and you know, I wish I remembered it more clearly. I feel like I kind of blacked out for that moment, but I just remember standing up, bar was still on there, and it all just washed over me that had just happened. You know, I won a gold medal. I mean, what a competition. I'm so happy right now.
Do you remember Ezra coming over and giving you the big hug? I know you guys have a great relationship.
I remember that very vividly, and I'll never forget that for the rest of my life.
And Ezra, for you got to witness something so special to see your teammate there. You finished in 4th, but the first Paralympic experience is so important. What have you learned from this whole experience here tonight?
Yeah, no, it's been great. I've been honored to shadow this man right here over the past few days. I feel I was just as hyped for him clearing that as he was. I wish there's an angle of my reaction. I started losing my mind, but man, it's been an honor to come out here and jump with him. He's a big brother to me. He's like family, and so to watch him win that gold, hopefully one day I can be on the podium with him as well.
Yeah, and I know for both of you, family is everything, and like all the Olympians and Paralympians, you're missing having your family here. That's something that it's been tough, but we might be able to do something about that. I want you to put on some headphones, Sam, and how about a little trip to Cleveland from right here? And I believe your mom, Michelle, and some other folks are right there. There's a delay, so if you speak, give them a second, but there they are.
What's up, family? What's up from Cleveland? I love all of you. I wish you guys could be here. What an electric environment this was. Wow, I'm so happy to see your guys' face. I can't wait to be home.
Love you.
Oh, I love each and every one of you.
Awesome.
Mom, Dad, you can ask a question.
Well, what are you thinking right now?
I'm really wet. Every article of clothing I have on me is totally waterlogged. I'm ready for a shower. I'm ready to eat some cheat meals. I'm ready to get home. And not so much relax. I don't think med school really allows much relaxing, but at least not jump for a little bit.
That's amazing. Well, we're worn out just from all the stress of watching you, but there's a lot of cheering going on.
Sorry, I really put you through a lot there, I think.
That was way too much stress. Way too many strikes there.
You're telling me. Come in at 73.
But good work.
Hello?
Great job, buddy.
Thank you so much. I'll be back soon.
Love you. Love you, Sam. Love.
I should have shown the other one where he is actually in competition. And, but this one is okay. NBC hooked up an iPad type thing in our house, and everybody came to our little living room to watch it because we had the big screen TV. And so it was grandparents and Rich and Melissa, aunt and uncle, and the reporter from Goshen News, who was told to be still. I'll let you know when you can talk. That was Michelle, the teacher, coming out. I'll let you know when you can talk. Fly on the wall, whatever that means. So anyhow, but it was pouring rain. And the guys he jumped against did not have a prosthetic. They would just jump up to the line, to the pole, and then flop over. And they were from India, and he had competed against them before, and the one beat him in Rio. So by beating him this time, it was a really big event. Any questions?
That was just a couple, when did
October. October, I think it was, this past October. Yeah. Now, the next one will be in Paris. But he'll be, see, he's in his first year of med school, so he would be just finishing up med school. So he doesn't know if he'll be able to do both. But he is jumping for University of Michigan. He is jumping just to try to keep himself in shape and keep going. But it's really stressful with schoolwork and doing that, and yeah. So, but his girlfriend, Maddie, would like to go to Paris. so she's sort of pushing him, you know, Sam, I think maybe you could do Paris, you know, so. Okay, yeah? Try to do both, but med school's number one. Med school's number one. You know, he wants to be an orthopedic surgeon, so he wants to give back what's been given to him. And who better to relate to a kid losing a limb than Sam? You know, it's just, that's the way it is. And so I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. His next thing was he was asked to do a TED Talk at University of Michigan. And the theme follows a Steve Jobs presentation about connecting the dots, that you can't connect the dots going forward, you can only connect the dots from behind. Because you don't know what's forward, but you know what's behind and how they connected so that you can move forward. So this is a little longer, but now he's 23. He started out 13. Now he's 23, first year med school at the University of Michigan.
On Christmas Eve of 2011, when I was only 13 years old, I was diagnosed with cancer. The doctors told me I had a fist-sized tumor growing in my leg, eating away at the bones in my knee. A million questions flashed through my mind as I felt my whole world come to a stop. The questions started off innocent. Am I going to miss school? Am I going to be able to finish my 7th grade basketball season? But as the reality of the situation began to set in, the questions started to evolve. Am I going to have to go through chemo? Am I going to lose my leg? Am I going to live to see my 14th birthday? Perhaps the question that I wondered most was, why me? Of course, there was no answer to this. There was no way to make sense of what was happening to me. Looking back, though, I can tell you one thing for sure, and that's that you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. These words were first spoken by Steve Jobs at his 2005 Stanford commencement speech. And he went on to add that you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. This cancer diagnosis was the first of many dots that would soon enter my life, each leaving me with more and more uncertainties, more questions, and no answers. I started chemo right away. I remember the nurses coming in, covered head to toe in protective equipment to protect them from the bag of toxic chemicals that they were hooking up to pump through my blood. My weight plummeted as my appetite, energy, and hair all disappeared. Every week I sat and watched, powerless as my healthy, athletic body was replaced by a weak and fragile shell. After a few sessions of chemo, it was time to meet with a surgeon to discuss what we were going to do about the tumor growing in my leg. And he basically laid out two options for me. The first option was what he called limb salvage, in which he would pick apart the tumor and any damaged areas of bone and replace my knee with an artificial joint. I'd be able to keep my leg and have just a few scars to show for it. The second option was amputation. Seems like a pretty easy decision, right? This may sound crazy to some of you, but I didn't really want to have my leg cut off, so initially that was what I went with. Well, the doctor talked a bit more about what limb salvage would look like, and he talked about how the replacement joint would be extremely fragile, rendering a return to sports impossible. Even certain activities like biking or going in the ocean could pose a risk of shattering my knee. He gave me a few weeks to decide. The decision still seemed easy, but as I thought about it more and more, it became clear to me that limb salvage just wasn't going to be compatible with the lifestyle that I wanted to live. I wanted to be active. I wanted to play sports. I wanted to be out there on the field, on the court with my friends, doing what I loved. And so as a 7th grader, I made the incredibly difficult decision to have my leg amputated. I remember feeling terrified as I was wheeled back into the operating room, overwhelmed by the uncertainties of what I was doing. Was my desire to play sports again really worth having my leg cut off? Was I making a mistake? Again, so many questions, so many uncertainties, and no answers. The treatment cycle started back up again after surgery. It felt like I lived at the hospital. The identities that I held prior to my cancer diagnosis ceased to exist. I was no longer a student or an athlete or a kid. I was a patient, nothing more. When it was all said and done, I had completed 21 sessions of chemotherapy spanning over the course of 2 years. And it was in these 200 days and nights in the hospital that I learned some extremely valuable lessons that can't be learned in a textbook. I learned how vulnerable it is to have your hopes and dreams put on hold, to have your health and autonomy stripped from you. Life in the hospital was hard. You know, I could have given up, and I don't think anyone would have blamed me. I didn't give up, though. No, instead, I made the active choice to try to reclaim my life. I carried a new perspective, one built on growth and potential. I stopped worrying about the things that I couldn't control and instead began focusing on the things that I could control. I spent early mornings and late nights studying with the hopes of catching up with my peers. I put in countless hours in physical therapy and in the weight room, working towards my goal of one day playing sports again. Academically, I returned to school as a freshman with a 6th grade education after missing the past 2 years for treatment. Physically, I was weak and tired as I fought to regain my strength. Socially, I was out of touch, having missed all the big events and drama that middle school brings. I even missed one of the biggest fights in school history, and nobody thought to record it for Sam. But as I got a bit more comfortable with my leg, I decided to try out track and field, and I fell in love with high jump. I started working with a local coach, and within a year had qualified for Paralympic trials. To my surprise, my performance at trials was enough to qualify me for world championships that would be taking place in Doha, Qatar. And I was only 16 years old at the time, competing in a field of 20-something-year-olds, all taller, stronger, more experienced than me. And to top it all off, I was seated in last place. So naturally, I came in with the ambitious goal to go and beat just one person. Just don't get last place. Well, the event started, and I came in at starting height, and I cleared it. And then I cleared the next height after that, and the next height after that, and soon realized that I was jumping higher than ever. Eventually, we reached a point where only 3 of us remained in the competition. Great. Not only had I evaded the dreaded last place position, I was now guaranteed a medal. The three of us went back and forth for some time until we reached a point where if I cleared the next bar, I would take home the gold medal. So I walked up to my starting spot. I took a few deep breaths. I pictured what I had to do, and I started running towards the bar. When I landed on the mat and I looked back up, I could see that the bar was still standing. I was a world champion. I carried a new confidence. I returned home with a new identity. I no longer saw myself as a damaged remnant of my former self, but rather as a fighter, strong and capable enough to overcome anything. This newfound confidence that I gained through track and field carried other facets of my life to new heights. I would soon graduate from high school in the top of my class and go on to study at the University of Notre Dame. And it was there where I started thinking about what I wanted to do with my life that I felt this calling to a career in medicine where I'd have the opportunity to take the lessons that I learned as a patient and use them to give back to others who might be experiencing the same challenges that I too once faced. It was this passion to provide the same quality of care that brought me out of my darkest days that fueled me to endure the academic pressures that any pre-med student faces. It was this passion that allowed me to gain admission to the nation's top medical schools, including Harvard, Yale, Stanford, and Michigan. Well, tonight I'm standing in front of you as a first-year medical student right here at the University of Michigan. Go Blue. And I'm in my 8th year on the Paralympic track and field team, during which I've won 3 world championship titles, set a new world record, competed as the first Division I amputee high jumper, and most recently, won a gold medal at the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games. So when I think about the position that I'm in today, I can't help but remember the scared 13-year-old who thought his life was over. The days and nights spent wondering, why me? The days and nights when I didn't think the dots in my life could ever connect. That's why I feel incredibly fortunate to have the opportunity to stand here tonight and to look back and connect those dots, to reflect on those hard times, the setbacks, the uncertainties, and see now how each and every one of them was crucial in getting me to where I am today. I look back on the cancer diagnosis, on the nights in the ICU, the times when I didn't know if I'd live another week, and I see now how those brushes with death gave me a new perspective on life and instilled a sense of urgency and purpose into everything I do. I look back on the difficult decision to have my leg amputated, and I see now how that decision gave me the strength to live the life that I wanted, not the life that was easiest. I look back on the early mornings and late nights spent studying with the hopes of catching up with my peers, and I see now how that work ethic is what prepared me for the academic challenges that I face in college and in med school. And I look back on the blood, sweat, and tears poured into relearning how to walk. And I see now how walking is what led to running, and running is what led to jumping. It was these moments of great adversity, great pain, that gave me the tools that I needed to achieve the greatest successes in my life. So as you go forth in your own lives, and you experience your own challenges, your own obstacles, your own dots, and you find yourself asking, why me? I hope that you'll remember my story. I hope that you'll remember that the process of connecting the dots is not a passive one. It's not a matter of sitting back and waiting for good things to start happening to you. No, connecting the dots is about perseverance. It's about pushing through the obstacles put in front of you and treating these obstacles as opportunities to learn, to grow. Connecting the dots is about embracing times of uncertainty, not running from them. looking back at these pictures of me as a kid, it's pretty clear to me now that the universe was trying to tell me, Sam, buddy, don't get too attached to that leg. I couldn't have known that at the time because you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. Thank you.
Any comments? Carolyn. Could do this. I had forgotten that, but thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I had forgotten that, but yes, I remember now that you brought it up, that John, you did document that so that he could move forward. Yeah. 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 Any other comments? We'll end with, he was, Beacon Health, he was in Memorial forever, it seemed like. And they were so good to him, and he was their hero. And so they did an article about some of the patients that they had in their newsletter or magazine or something. So the one paragraph, and I'll close with this, Sam says, I think it boils down to my belief that I am a better person today. I'm stronger, I'm more mature, better perspective on life, more driven, because of the hardships that I've overcome, Sam said. So I'm not glad that I got cancer, but I am glad and proud of the way that I handled the obstacles and the setbacks. And that's remarkably unremarkable. On campus, he's just Sam. He relates well to all people, that's what I hold tight in my heart, is the way he treats people, and it's always with respect and honor. So, thank you for letting me share our story, Dana. They take up, oh, come on, help me. What's the test you have to take? MCAT. Well, him and Maddie studied every minute, free minute they had, their senior year, all that summer, and they took the test. I think 100 was the high. Maddie scored, I think, 92. Sam scored 99. So that gave him a free ride to college. So his med school is paid for. What a blessing that was. So, yeah, he scored that high. And so God gifted him, and he knows that, with a good brain. And he's, at this stage, he's planning on using it. So, let's keep encouraging him whenever you see him. And any other comments? John?
I know that you see the reports of the professional athletes, that go to the regular Olympic field, and all of the sponsors and the coaches and trainers and stuff they have. What kind of coaches, trainers, support type of thing did Sam have? Was this pretty much just individual, or did he have
the main person is, help me out, Jerry, Mishler, Kyle Mishler at Goshen College. And Kyle has trained him from day one. And they have such a good relationship. But Kyle Mishler is the main person in training, Sam. This year, they actually raised, the professional, the Olympics get so much money if they get a gold and so much money if they get, well, the Paralympics, there was no comparison. They were down here, Olympics was up here. This year, so getting gold put some money in his pocket. So it was worth going to. So we were sure that that money was going to buy a ring for his girlfriend and whatever, but we don't know why he puts it off. She doesn't either, so she said, don't even go there. I don't know why. But anyhow, yeah, so, and what's interesting, and I didn't realize it, in the Paralympics, the medals have stones in them or something so that the blind athletes can shake them and they can tell by the sound if it's a gold, bronze, or silver. So I think that's sort of interesting that they don't talk that much about, but yeah, they do have little rattlers in there of some type so that the blind can hear. Yeah. GLASA is Great Lakes Adaptive Sports and their association, and they're in north of Chicago. And so he started there not knowing what he wanted to do. So he entered about 4 or 5 events that day and could do well in most of them, but the high jump won his heart. Well, through GLASA, this Kathy, and I don't remember her name, got a hold of him, took him out to Paralympics out in Arizona where he could train out there. He's been to California to train. And so he was able to put the right people, God gifted him the right people to be in place to move him forward. Yeah. And John, you were one of them. So thank you. Yeah. And you all were, because I don't know if you remember that first Christmas Eve, I came in and I was like frozen. Sam came to candlelight that night on crutches. He didn't dare put any weight on his leg. We came in, and like I said, we had found out maybe on a Friday or Saturday night or a night before the candlelight. And you embraced me, you embraced the family, you embraced Sam. And it was really a powerful moment, really, really a powerful moment. Okay, have a good lunch, thank you. And next week I don't know, you got something on your schedule for Sunday school next week? Jenny's going to be at Sunday school, okay, and then the next week it's Camp Mac, and then we do something else. Graduation Sunday, yeah. Okay, all right, thank you. Well, thank you.